Before this week's podcast, why don't you take a moment to purchase a ticket for our live podcast? I'm here with Chris Charles, also a founder of the QPR podcast. Chris, why should everyone buy a ticket for the live podcast?
Well, we've got Mark Bircham on.
Yes, who else?
We've got Trevor Sinclair.
Who else?
We've got Kevin Gallen.
That sounds like a fantastic lineup. Where is it?
It's at the Good Ship in Kilburn.
And what's the date?
The date is May the 9th.
And how do people get tickets?
They can go
on our website, which is www.qprpod.co.uk.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, so join us at the live podcast with Trevor Sinclair, Mark Bircham, Kevin Gallen on May the 9th at the Good Ship. Go to our website for details.
QPR, Brisbane Rangers are on the up and up. QPR, now we're heading for European Cup.
Hello and welcome to Open All Hours, the QPR podcast. I'm David Fraser. We have five of us around the table tonight talking about QPR, and isn't there a lot to talk about? With me are two original QPR podcasters, one first-timer and one second-timer. So I'm joined by Chris Charles of BT Sports.
Hi.
And new to the podcast, making his first appearance, is John Wood.
Hello.
Hello, John. Paul Finney is also here. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Speak into the microphone, please, because
right.
people want to hear you say hello. Really? You came in like a QPR sort of, what do they call it? Not a car coat, like a training top almost this morning. You look quite managerial.
Yeah,
and now you're wearing a sort of Norwich City style T-shirt.
It's a Trojan Records T-shirt.
Okay. And Jim Mabley, who's been on before, second appearance.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Norwich City, by the way, that's insulting and could come back to haunt us. Carry on.
Well, we will talk about that shortly. So we have many thanks for the beers. So first of all, thank you to Matt Summers for the beers, who bought us the beers on the website. But both of our guests tonight have also bought beers. John and Jim, thank you for the beers. And Matt Summers, we don't mean to diminish your beer buying skills in any way. We are very beered out, and Harry, our engineer, tends to get to take all the leftovers home if there are any, because we have nowhere here to store them, so he'll be very happy. Right, there's loads and loads to talk about. First of all, if you want to listen to old episodes, you can do on our website at qprpod.co.uk. Follow us on Twitter at qprpod. You can find us on Facebook. We will also be talking a lot more about it, but thank you to everyone so far who has bought a ticket for the live podcast. That's on May the 9th at the Good Ship in Kilburn, and we announced last week that Trevor Sinclair is going to be joining us, as well as Mark Bircham and as well as Kevin Gallen. So it should be a really, really good night. If you haven't bought your ticket yet, they are going fast. Go to qprpod.co.uk. They're only a tenner. Right. Must we talk about the last 4 days, or should we talk about something completely different? And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you very much. Right. Well, the good news is we haven't lost by more than one goal for over 5 games now. The bad news is 5 defeats on the spin. Who would like to start? I'm looking at you, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, it's not great, is it? It was a long Good Friday, and then the best thing about Monday was that my daughter bought some Easter egg chocolate to the game, which saw me through. But
favourite Easter egg this year?
Well, I only got one. It was a Cadbury's cream egg Easter egg. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring some light to the proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, I said a few weeks ago after the Derby defeat that was a bad day at the office, wasn't too concerned, and the Villa defeat, we were slightly unlucky not to get a draw, which is true, but I think that it's starting to get a bit worrying now. I said a few weeks ago that there's no way we can go down. I still think it's unlikely we're going to, but I don't think we should be in this position of the season with 3 games to go, talking about whether or not we're going to stay up. And part of this is due to the team selection over the last 5 games. I mean, I had a look, and I think he's made 32 changes since the Derby game. I think it was, like, from people going in and out, and yeah, it's.
But And John, I'll bring you in here. That they are professional footballers. They are, most of them are experienced, and arguably the ones who are inexperienced are the ones who are performing quite well. Shouldn't be an excuse for not winning 5 on the trot, should it, John?
It shouldn't be, but I think when you're chopping and changing so much, especially when we seem to have a settled side and we went on a good run, it's difficult. That back 4 on Saturday was a bit embarrassing, really, I think.
Didn't play on Saturday.
Oh, sorry.
It is confusing. It is confusing.
On Monday was a bit embarrassing because Bidwell playing centre back didn't work at all. They found that out, and I felt a bit sorry for them in a way because it just obviously didn't work from the start. And I feel if he's going to experiment, fine. He felt he was safe on 50. He probably thought he'd get another couple of wins. I'd like us to go into the next game and the Forest game with a team he thinks is going to win it, a team that he thinks he's going to play next season, and go for the win, to be honest, rather than try out people in different positions that may or may not work, to be honest.
Jim?
I think the last 3 games he needs to play his strongest side and stick with it. That's my opinion, because all right, he's tried these players out.
Well, he said that his 2 centre-backs were not fit yesterday.
Right, okay. Take that as you want.
Yeah.
I still think the last 3 games you've got to play your strongest side, and as you say, go out and win it, and at least go out. If you're gonna, you might as well go out with a bang if you're going to go out.
God, don't say that. Now, does anybody, and I'm looking at you here, Mr. Finney, does anybody think that we are actually in trouble?
No, I don't think we're in trouble. I think we're giving it a go.
Giving it a go to be in trouble.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think it's deliberate. I think we took our eye off what's around us, and I feel that like there's a stack of teams chasing us down the road, but we're just refusing to look behind our shoulder. And we need to look behind our shoulder. We need to go to Brentford on Saturday and get at least a point. They're going to want to beat us because they're small-minded individuals who seem to think they're rivals of us. And we've got to go there, and they'll be up for it. They'll want to stuff us because clearly they don't like us very much, because quite rightly we tried to take over their club in the 60s and they've never forgiven us, even though most of them were probably supporting Chelsea then. And there is the faint chance that if Blackburn do put a run together and we don't, I mean, thank God we got Forest at home. You just said that, but if that was away, I'd be really cacking myself. Yeah. You'd fear Norwich hate us anyway, and
well, it comes down to the Forest game, really, because if you look at the math behind it, why did I say math? I don't know. If you look at the maths behind it, so long as we don't lose to Forest, we should be all right, because then the maximum Forest can get is 51
Well, Blackburn,
points.
to be fair, I looked at Blackburn. I did some research today. I never do research.
Well done. It's almost like after 6 years you're taking this seriously.
No, you're just being ridiculous.
Yeah. Go on, what did your research turn up?
Well, it said that we're kind of outside the toilet, but we shouldn't be sitting on it come the last game of the season.
I don't understand that.
Because
that's not the first time I've ever said that to you.
Stop being regionalist.
Is that a Northern Irish thing, or are you just claiming that's a Northern Irish thing? I don't reckon people in Northern Ireland have ever said that.
I just spoke standard.
Yeah, it's not as good as it's not as good as you once said. It's all ifs and buts and pots and pans. Do you remember that?
I remember that very well. Yeah,
you once said
I
that.
seem to remember being rather smashed in that podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe leads with train of thought, which isn't much, but we are. But Blackburn have got Villa to play, and who else have they got? They got a toughy one Saturday. I can't remember who they're playing. But they got a couple of tough ones. I don't think they'll win, for the grace of God. But the experimental thing, we all got it. We all said it for weeks. We get what he's doing, but now you kind of think every game. And Friday, I went along Friday, and it was, you can see the players. What got me yesterday was when we brought Washington on and changed formation for the third time. You had players look at the bench and Freeman going over there and like hands in the air, like, what are we doing? What the heck's going on here? And the Wednesday players that watched it, like, we got them. They generally didn't know interchangeable what was going on. And quite frankly, Bidwell is a centre back. Even play your man Finney if he's a centre back and he's half fit. Because I just
wondered when that was going to come up.
I had to cause it, but it's just like it was never an option, because what Bidwell brings to you is he's a left back with ability to chase players and win the ball sometimes, but he is never in a month of Sundays where I've got a hole in my arse, a centre half.
And the thing was that him and Robinson a lot of the time were going for the same ball. They'd see, because obviously instinct is to is the play where you normally play. And by the way, that 32 changes was since Barnsley rather than Derby.
Do you know what you've done to him since the other week when he couldn't correct himself and you wouldn't let him re-record? He's now corrected himself during the podcast. We're going to have to listen to this every week now, thanks to you. But does anyone else think like Milo that by playing your best team week in, week out is a more foundation to build on for next season rather than experimenting with players who probably will be gone in the summer anyway? Or is that just being unrealistic?
I think you can have an element of doing that, but the problem is it's wholesale changes. I mean, when I was doing my research, there was one game where we changed
like Frig.
7 players, a couple where we've changed 5. I think maybe 1 or 2 here and there is not a bad thing. But Petrasso suddenly brought him from the cold, gives him a half, and then takes him off again.
He played at Villa.
Yeah, but I mean, he's played 2 games
and he's got
this
hooked.
season. I just don't really see what the point is.
I think Holloway probably thought after the Rotherham game, after the 5-1, wasn't it? He probably thought, well, we've got 50 points now. Realistically, we need 2 more. Surely we're going to get 2 points in 8 games. Yeah. And the first game, the second game, and it hasn't quite happened. And 5 games in, we've got 0 points since then. And now I think you can pretty much bet whatever you like on it. He's going to be playing what he thinks is his strongest team for the next 3 games, isn't he?
So. Well, he said everyone knows how I feel about Brentford. It's almost like he's having an experiment, and then he's going to play the first team, if you like, against Brentford. But really, like I said earlier, it shouldn't be coming to that. We should be home and hosed by now.
But he took dogs abuse to Bristol City. I mean, they are no fan of his by any stretch of imagination. No. So, and I'm not saying it's deliberate because there is an element in me does understand what he's doing, and I do try my best not to be negative. But I am being negative by saying that, if we do get drawn into a relegation battle, it is borderline ridiculous because we should be nowhere near this. We should be done and dusted. We should be playing for next season, thinking about our holidays and looking forward to twatting Brentford on Saturday, which is, we owe them for what they did at Loftus Road.
Well, when we both, Brentford and us, got to 50 points at the same time after 38 games, I think, and they're now on 60 and scoring goals for fun, and we're still on 50. I mean, surely their manager might want to chop and change a bit and experiment with a few players as well, but...
I mean, going back to defence, he must realise that, because even my son, who's 9, who is a defender in his team, said, "What is going on? No one seems to know what they're doing. No one's their positional play isn't good enough." And he's 9. He's not a manager, is he? So I mean, that's my point. That he must see that himself.
I did some research as well. I mean, this is almost unheralded, the 3 of us doing some research. But I looked into the final finishing positions of the team 4th from bottom for the last 10 years. And I've got to tell you, history doesn't say that we are home and dry by any stretch of the imagination. I had a look at the point you need to avoid relegation.
It was my hope.
The good news is 8 years out of 10, we're fine. Last year, 41 points would have kept you up, actually. And on average, 45.7, which is 46 points, is enough to keep you up. However, there were 2 years, 2013 and 2008, where you needed 55 points and 53 points to stay up.
I think that's scary.
Yeah, I think it's a case of momentum as well, because we had momentum and it's just got lost. And I think when you think about next season, if we are still in the Championship, I think we probably will be, but you would say at the end of the season, right, next season we want 10 more points than this season. 10 more points than this season will get us mid-table, and that's not really, you don't really want that. It'd be nice to finish with 60, 63 points, and then be thinking if we win a few more games next season, we're looking at playoffs, so we're looking at challenging for them. So I think it may be an experiment that's backfired for him a little bit. He probably realises that. And like everyone says, I think Brentford on Saturday, I think he will play strongest team.
I think there's Hopefully. 2 words that will why we're going to stay up. Harry Redknapp. As soon as I saw that this morning, I thought,
Am I the only one that thinks that's a good move by them? I mean, they had. So we're talking about Birmingham and it's taken over from Zola. They had to get rid of Zola, didn't they? And that everybody apart from us seems to have a new manager bounce, and they need to win 1 out of 3, don't they, really?
Well, 1 out of 3 would take them to what we're on.
To what we're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they could have. I mean, they were certs to go down under Zola, so any improvement on being certs to go down is surely.
Haven't they got Villa this weekend?
They have.
Yeah.
So, derby game, but we should be. Listen, we're having a conversation, which is great for the podcast and great for scaring our pants. But realistically, we should pick up a point in the next 3 games. If we don't, then it's an absolute disgrace, quite frankly.
And just to sort of round this off, if you're members of certain groups online, that run of 6
What kind of groups?
QPR groups.
All right.
QPR groups.
Thank
That's
God.
6 on the trot that we lost. Holloway's the worst thing ever to have existed. We go on that winning run. He's fantastic. Now the same kind of moaners are back again. We've talked about this a million times. I tend to ignore these groups now, but they're getting a bit of nasty, not pleasant momentum, I would say.
It's a nickname, isn't it? Hollowhead. People put out there and stuff like that, which is daft. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their opinion, as long as it's not racist and horrible, and it's not about his family or anything deeply sinister, then people are entitled to their opinions. But that's football. We did it for years in the pub, didn't we? When things went wrong, when Mullery took over a really good side and completely ruined it. If social media was around them days, Mullery probably would have had to leave the country. Jim Smith, who had a great record at QPR, but no one went without curring. But social media brought on a new thing, because in 3 seconds you can have an opinion out there, and sometimes the opinions are a wee bit weird. And
there was a stat doing the rounds yesterday, stacking up the records of Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Holloway, and statistically, Holloway's does not look in any way favourable against Jimmy's record. Is context important, or is it all about the stats, and his win record is not impressive?
Well, I think the thing there is that under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, people were just going through the motions, going to the game, and were just sitting staring into space. And I mean, like you pointed out, that we've not lost by more than 1 goal for 5 games or whatever. So we're not getting completely tonked. We are coming back into. We came into against Brighton. We did against Villa. We did against Wednesday. But the problem is, we're not really starting to play until we're going behind. So I would still say that Holloway is probably a better than Hasselbank, simply because he was just boring the pants off everybody, and people just weren't turning up.
I think the thing is hindsight is a great thing when you look at statistics, because statistically, as I just said, Jim Smith had a great record at QPR, but at the time people weren't that impressed with him. Jimmy Floyd's gone. I still say it was the right thing to do. He wasn't enthusiastic. He didn't like high Redknapp. He never really got QPR. It was never us against the world. Holloway's brought that, but unfortunately, and this is going to be controversial, I'm going to get slaughtered for this, Ian's only got himself to blame, because he had the perfect team going, he had momentum, he had the players, he had Smith and Washington working off each other, people were finding form, then we had the international break, and then it's all tinkering. And we've never, if he'd have just kept that squad together, that team, and got himself, then he would have been fine. So while Ian says it's not important about the tinkering because they're pretty safe, he's kind of brought this on himself. So next season he needs to start pretty much hitting the ground the first day of the season and going for it. But that depends on what the club's ambitions are, and who we can get rid of, who we can bring in. If we want to go top 6, mid-table, or if we have another relegation battle next season, people will go absolutely insane, because the fans will not take another relegation battle. People are getting sick of getting beat. We've got home defeat fatigue. We're sick of it. We need some hope. Sorry about that. I feel better now.
Well, let's now talk to Richard Langley then. So we spoke to him earlier in the season. He comes on once or twice a year. Always great to talk to, and never short of an opinion.
Hi Richard, how you doing?
I'm great.
Thanks for coming on, mate. I was going to take you back to the start of the season. You came on our podcast then. We were all full of the joys of the spring, because we'd beaten Leeds and we were second in the table, and you sort of gave us a bit of a warning not to get too far ahead of ourselves, and I think you've been proved right, really.
Yeah, I don't want to say I told you so, but for me it was an obvious reflection of the state of where the club was at that moment in time. And like I said back then, just a bit of stability is what we need. Staying in this league was the most important thing, and then just look to try and build again sensibly in the future.
And do you think, I know we'll talk about the run of results of late, but do you think Ollie and Birch coming in have sort of helped to restore that stability?
Well, it looks like they gave them the spark that was needed. You know, they picked up a few results, although a couple of them were quite fortuitous, like being on the the wrong end of games where we haven't had many chances, any possession. We came out with a couple of smash and grabs, which was needed when Ollie and Birch came over. But we picked up the points. It took us out of that kind of relegation fight, and it's just unfortunate. The last 5 games have really gone against us. But again, if Ollie hadn't come in and given that spark to the boys, you would really fear for the championship life of the club.
And do you think it's been right for him to experiment the last 5 games? We've just been talking about that. Obviously, we got to 50 points, assumed we'd be safe, but it's sort of backfired a little bit because obviously we haven't won any of them.
Yeah, no, that's true. We are. I think we're safe. It looks like we're as good as safe, you know. But with him getting those results that he did, allowed him to be able to mess about and tinker with the team, different formations. He went to the 5 at the back. I know Ollie's always been like a 4. Well, under me. Well, when I was under him, he was a 4-4-2. Then Blackpool is more of a footballing technician kind of manager, where he was playing for a really expansive 4-3-3. And I think just coming here, needed to get some results, shore it up. He's switched again, but you know he needs to start planning for next year, and I'm sure that's why he's experimenting.
Hi Richard, it's James. I hope you remember me. You were a year above me at school.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you become a good footballer when we had the worst playground ever, a concrete jungle?
Yeah, all those obstacles I had to try and avoid, and 300 or 400 kids, however many there were at Salva.
What school was that?
Salvatorium?
Yeah.
And you were in my primary school as well. Obviously, you learnt all of it off me, obviously, I'd like to add.
Richard, explain to me, when it's quite a bizarre situation, 8 games to go and the club is effectively safe. How would that affect a player's mind? Is it difficult to not be on the beach, to not be complacent, to sort of turn out the results? Because it appears for QPR's players, it has been a bit tricky.
It has. It can affect you. It can affect you, but I think I wouldn't put that solely at the feet of the guys having their flip-flops on, you know, and ready for their 4 or 5 week holiday. But, you know, you've got a new manager coming in, trying to impress his new ideas upon you, and that can take a long time, and the playing staff has been changed quite a lot recently, so it is hard to develop that continuity and understanding, which is a really vital thing when you're playing professional football. You know, you get used to certain movements of the guys around you, so having someone that's not in the right place, not moving as you are used to, can delay your passes, can lead to a lack of confidence, and I'd say that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing the performance that we are at the minute.
And one other thing, sort of on the psychology really behind kind of results and momentum, we are not ending the season on the best of form and with the best of momentum, even if things go well the next few games. Is that in any way, in your experience, carried over to the following season? Like, is there any sort of truth or credence in, you know, they ended last season well and therefore we'll pick up where we left off, or vice versa? Or is it, you know, like going into a new year at Salvatore and it doesn't make any difference?
I don't think it's going to play too much of a difference. I know Ian Holloway is going to have extremely high standards. They're going to be looking to recruit and strengthen the squad in the summer, I'm sure. So everyone's going to be on their toes come the start of the season, and I don't think this ending to this current season is going to be indicative of what we're going to see or be looking forward to next year.
Hey, it is Paul again. During your time at QPR as a player with Ian, you know, obviously we had the playoff and what happened at Oldham, etc., etc. What's his man management style like for most players, do you think?
I think what Ian Holloway respects most is just people being good people. He wants good people around him. He wants He wants winners, and he wants respect amongst his team in his changing room. And he'll just be demanding that he gets the best out of every single player. And I think that was one of his biggest qualities. He had a way of making everyone feel wanted, feel special when I was there. And that is imperative. If you can have a big squad, you can have players left out of the team. And it's important that the players that are out of the team feel as wanted as those that are in it. So that was one of his qualities. But I've been down to the training ground quite a lot. And he'll take a lot of interest in the youngsters coming through, which I think is great for the club. And he'll just try and get everyone to be thinking along the same thought pattern, thought process that he's got, the same. He'll try and develop the same understanding with everyone on how he sees the game.
Oh, okay. So for where we are now, he's the right man in charge, do you think?
Sorry, say that again?
So where we are now, do you think he's the right man in charge?
Well, he's rescued the season. We're safe. And he's shown that he can change it up. You know, if he has the right personnel, he's shown that he can play expansive, attractive football, which is something that I think he regrets not being able to play at QPR at the time he was there when I was playing.
Hello, it's John here, Richard. Just to ask you sort of further on that point, for next season, let's be positive and assume we're still in the Championship. I'm sure we will be. Who do you think, if he wants to play that expansive football, what are the players that we've got now that he might rely upon to do that? I know at Blackpool he sort of did Charlie Adam. Is there anyone there that you think that he might sort of build the team around, or any number of players that he'll do that with?
You know, at the minute we've got a lot of solid, good professionals. I don't think we've got anyone. We haven't got that Maverick. We haven't got that Adel Taarabt where you can look to really open the defence up. I think the closest thing we've got is Ravel Morrison, and I don't know what his situation is going to be after this season. But I know, well, he's got obvious talent, and it's. I think it'll be a manager like Ian Holloway that will believe in him and try and get it out of him, because it's clear for everyone to see how effective he can be. It's just disappointing to see the last game. He played a lot in front of the last couple of games he played a lot in front of the back four, his own back four, and didn't really affect the game where Ian Holloway wants him to be effective. And I know I've had many conversations, like being this, I wouldn't put myself in the same class as Ravel, but being that kind of player that that playmaker type, Ian Holloway wants you to be effective in the right areas of the pitch. So I'm sure seeing Ravel playing in front of his own back four wouldn't be something that Ian Holloway would have liked. But at the same time, I know Ian Holloway, and he will try and get the best out of him, push him forward, and make him be really effective. But until he starts doing that and playing in the right areas, I think it's going to be very difficult for Ollie to pencil him in. But yeah, Ravel could be that Maverick that we could be looking for next year.
Okay, just final question. You're obviously in the Ravel camp, so I'm guessing you suggest that we should, keep him on next season. Where else do you think we need to strengthen in the summer?
I would say in wide positions. I know we had a couple of youngsters go out on loan, a couple of wingers, but a couple of fine wingers, a bit of pace in the team. Maybe a slight replacement for Matt Phillips. So definitely out wide. At the back, quite solid down the middle. Full-back areas, maybe we can strengthen. We've got Darnell Furlong, but maybe a bit of support there. For you guys to say I'm in the Ravel camp, I'm in the Ravel camp if he works hard and does what Ian Holloway wants. And if he doesn't, there's no point having a guy that's going to stroll around and play when he gets the ball. Ian Holloway's going to want everything, from my experience.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Richard, thank you very much for joining us. Always good to talk to you. Always got an interesting take on things, and we're going to be fine, aren't we?
Yeah, no, definitely. But I just think Ollie's just going to mess about with the team, see who wants it. He's got rid of a few of the dodgy characters. I'm offline now, aren't I? He's got a few of those. No?
It doesn't matter. No names mentioned. We hear what you say.
Exactly. Carry on.
Well, you know what I mean.
We do
I think he's going to be looking at all the different characters he's got and getting the right characters. That's going to be the main thing for him. And then build from there. whatever players. Because Ollie can go both ways. You can go very direct and play your percentage style football, or I know he did a lot of studying on the passing game, on the 4-3-3, on the breaking down of their opponents, with the ball on the ground. So I'm sure he's going to choose. Well, he'll choose wisely with whatever he's got.
Cheers, Richard. Cheers, big man.
Cheers.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Okay. Right. As usual, we're racing along. We're not very much time left. Before we move on to Oz End, Paul.
Yes.
There was an update on Stan Bowles last week.
Yep.
Fill us in.
Basically, there is quite a few things going on behind the scenes, as far as I'm aware, to help Stan and other ex-players who are falling on hard times, which I think is a great initiative for the club and fans to be as one and work with. There will be a game in the summer for Stan, and I'm sure there'll be a game after that. And I can see a 12-month period where QPR will do a lot of things to try and help Stan's family. But the problem has been with people asking for a testimonial. Now, whether we like it or not, Stan doesn't qualify for a testimonial. He just doesn't, and we can't change the rules. They're there, and we can't
Without going into massive ins and outs, just explain the sort of basic headlines of why he doesn't?
Well, it wasn't there long enough. Simple as that. And to qualify for a testimonial, I think it's got to be 10 years. I could be wrong, and I could get shut down in place. I think it's got to be 10 years. He just fell short of that. It's a ridiculous rule, but it's something that the league will...
Was that like a tax rule or something?
Well, yeah, in essence it is. And the other thing you've got to also be careful of is that, with Stan's position and where he is now, he's rapidly getting worse, and the family need a lot of support. But we need to be mindful of what they actually need, because they've got to come back to us and say, look, this is what Stan needs. He needs this type of care. He needs that type of care. It's not good. The situation he's in is really not good. Yeah. And there's been a lot of people arguing on social media, a lot of people, even I've been slagged off, and that's fine. I don't care. I don't matter. But, if we're going to help Stan, we don't need our names out there. We don't need people saying,
it's got to be the right solution for him.
It has to be.
You can't start with...
But also, it's not about us. We may think we're doing the right thing, and we may barrack... And I do barrack the club a lot and things like this here, and we've been asking this for a long time, but at the same time is that by being hostile helps no one. We've got to work together. We've got to do what's best for Stan. No one needs to know who's involved in this. No names need to come out. We'll just do what we do, take our seats for the games and support Stan, because we are just one of many. It's not about individuals. It's about Stan. And he will get the help. The help will get to him. And I'm just absolutely gutted, because it's a horrible, horrible, horrible illness. But also we've got to make sure that we also help those in our own fan base through this as well, who suffer from this illness, and make more people aware of it, because it's such a taboo issue that people don't talk about it enough, and it's a horrible, horrible illness. And I just feel for his family. And there's a great Phil Williams did a great piece in Stan for BBC 5 Live, I think of October time, where they spent a day with him, and it was heartbreaking. And you speak to Don Shanks and that, and everyone else, and the only time Stan seems to respond is when he's at Loftus Road, and it's amazing. I'm sad for the situation that he's in, but how much does that club must mean to him and his family that the man can come back? And it's the only thing that makes him feel Stan. So I need to just make a wee quick appeal to everyone. Forget slagging the club off for doing this and not doing that, or doing this right, doing that wrong, doing this, whatever. When the date's announced, even if you can't make the game, if you live in Singapore, if you live in Belfast, if you live in Dublin, if you live in Humberside, you can't get down, please buy a ticket. It will make such a difference. You don't need to be in the stands to play a part. Your part will be played by either buying a ticket or giving the Just Giving. It's about helping Stan. It's not about anything other than that. It's all about Stan Bowles. And he made the club special for me. I mean, if you go out to anyone and you show them a picture of a hoop shirt from the 70s, they'll say Stan Bowles. That straight away, they'll say Stan Bowles. That is it. He needs our help. We've got to help him. And if he can't make the game, please buy a ticket. Please help him. Make donations. You can, even if it's £1, it's 50p. It doesn't matter. Just do something. And this will prove to everyone that Queen's Park Rangers might have had a wee bit of a few soul-destroying years, spending lots of money. And it's not about the owners. Everyone's saying, well, they've spent hundreds of millions. They can do this. Forget that. We've got to do it. regardless of what happened in the past. So please help. Please don't ask the question. So why are they not doing this? Why have they spent hundreds of millions of playing the players this? Doesn't matter. Help Stan. That's all that matters.
Very good. I knew there was a reason why we got you in tonight. That was great.
You wanted to see my beard disappear, didn't you? Because I shaved it off after last week. Or the
I
week before.
didn't see it. I didn't see it, no.
Who slagged it off? Yeah, you did the other week.
Oh, maybe.
You said it looked like a grooming parlour.
Right, let's move on to R's End then, which is everything that we haven't mentioned you would like to talk about. I'll give the rest of you time to think up yours because I'll start. So it was my wedding anniversary at the weekend. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
That poor woman.
I know. This is where I'm glad that you're not up next to the microphone because no one half the people probably didn't hear.
That poor woman.
That poor woman, indeed. No, I'm doing much better out of it. Cheers, for sure. And
you're not just punched above your weight, you're in a different boxing ring.
Correct. Luckily, the kids have her looks. And as a present, she got me one of those things. I don't know if you've seen it online. You can buy like old newspapers, and there's a company that basically puts together the history of your club. Now, I got it. Yeah, I got it and looked through it, and it's basically newspaper cuttings of QPR since 1914 up to the present day. So just over 100 years, and it's very good, and it's got a lot of the key moments that you would think about. And I wanted to know what you thought about this. I flicked through it, and I noticed that 1986 League Cup final is not in there. 2003 playoff final is not in there. So out of 5 major finals that QPR have had, I think I'm right in saying 5 major finals, 4 at Wembley, 1 in Cardiff, 2 of them are not in there. Now, we did lose those.
Don't forget the Charity Shield against Manchester United, which I believe was played at Stamford Bridge.
In 1908.
Because we won Division
I haven't
3
checked.
and they won their first...
Now my wife wrote to this company called gettingpersonal.co.uk. I may as well give them a plug for not getting it right. And they wrote back to her saying, I have spoken to the supplier and they've advised that the football books only cover the team's achievements. And although QPR did reach the final of both competitions mentioned, they actually lost both matches, brackets, Oxford 3-0 in 1986 and Cardiff 1-0 in 2003, close brackets. So a defeat would not be considered a historical
Did they have
moment.
82 in it?
Yes, it did.
Well, we lost
Their
that.
league- Good point. Their League Cup run in 1986 is actually covered, however, including both legs of the semi-final semi-final victory over Liverpool. Do not hesitate to get in touch if you have any further queries. What do you think about that? Obviously, I don't want to read loads about them. They should be covered, shouldn't they?
No.
Right, who else? Next.
David, in what universe do you want to read about the 86 cover final?
Because we're not in North.
What was wrong with you?
Because we're not in North Korea. Like the news is the news. You can't censor it. If you want a historic document of the history, you have to have it warts and all, don't you?
Right, I reckon there is a link to North Korea in the fact that apparently this is true. They had all the rockets and tanks with all paper maches. Our players in 86 were paper maches. There was a link.
So, hopefully my son and daughter will become QPR fans and they'll read that book at some point. It shouldn't be airbrushed, should it?
Yes, it should.
It shouldn't be airbrushed out of history.
Have 82
the 6-0
in there.
is in there. Chelsea 6-0
have 82 in there. Have the 2003 in there. No one should ever feel the need to talk about 86. It never happened. It ended at Anfield.
When they ask about it, you can say, well, look, they won the semi-final, Dad. It's there. They beat Liverpool. You can just say the game was called off or something.
Yeah.
Good idea.
No, just tell them that who in the right mind would lose to Oxford in a League Cup final.
Well, I think that book was clearly written by a QPR.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. This is a true story, and I'll tell it very quickly. Going to the Euros, I bumped into the bloody Oxford United Supporters Club. I don't even know how. They were going to watch England, obviously. And obviously the fella seen me QPR gear. So he standed over and reminded me it was the anniversary. I will not say what I said to him, but he had a very red face and gave me dirty looks for the rest of the day. It was along the lines of, I'm not interested, and no, I don't want to see your commemorative shirt. Thank you very much, and I feck off.
Sorry, George.
It was ridiculous. I mean, they still talk about it, and they shouldn't, because it was embarrassing for everyone, and it never happened. And they should have pulled Wembley down 5 years earlier. Carry on.
Who else? Okay, fine. So you all think I'm wrong for not wanting them included. I think warts and all, but fine. Right.
Would you put Vauxhall Motors in there as well, and every other thing that's gone wrong in the 7-1 defeat at Sheffield
I'll have a
Wednesday,
look tonight to see if Vauxhall
I mean,
Motors
but you
is in
can't
there.
just pick and choose your historical moment to do things relevant. No one else agrees with you.
5 cup finals.
No.
To not have 2 of them, I think that's 40% of our major finals not in there.
All right, technically one's a playoff final, so
Fine.
that doesn't count. But their response to you as a commercial enterprise, I think, was flawed because 82. That's what I'm saying.
True. Right, somebody else take us off this subject. John, you look like
can I do 2 quick ones?
Sure.
One maybe longer than
Paul
others.
always does 3 or 4,
thank
so
you.
feel
Yeah,
free.
exactly. So, can I just say, despite what we've said today, I think the club's in a really good place. If you consider what we were like at maybe 18 months ago, what's happened over the last 18 months is really positive. They're trying to get the right sort of players in. They've got the right atmosphere in the club. The Forever Ours thing is I think, is really brilliant. And I think, although we're a bit depressed over the last 5 matches, the general atmosphere in the club's fairly positive. I think you go down and you know the team's going to perform for you, even if they don't win. They'll try their best, I think. And I don't think they're quite on the beach yet. I think they are genuinely trying. So keep behind them. I think we're in a good place, and I think if it keeps going like that, things will only get better for us. The other thing is slightly bit more controversial. I am a season ticket holder in the family stand, and I've been there for a long time. I've got 4 kids from 2 marriages. So my 2 eldest ones grew up in the family stand. I grew up in behind the goal in the loft. My dad did as well. So there's lots of generation. Granddad as well. I've got 2 little ones now who are now coming to the family stand. They're 2 and 6, 2 and 7. So it's a big generational thing for us. And I totally agree. On Tuesday nights or weeknight weeks, those, especially under 8 tickets, should be just given. You should be allowed to just give those to a mate or bring somebody along, an adult, because especially under 8 ones, you're not going to take them on a school night. I totally agree with that. I would even agree that maybe you should half it and just have half of that side as a family stand. But I do think it needs to be there. I think it needs to be behind a goal. It's good to be in an end. I've grown up behind the end in the loft. My kids have. They're going to be supporters for the rest of their lives. That's a non-negotiable. To the regret of some of them, but that's how it is. And I just think I don't think it really takes away from the atmosphere as much as some people think it does. It's great to take your kids. I've enjoyed it for the last 20 odd years, taking my kids there, and it's been absolutely brilliant. They've had great fun. The family stand's got to go somewhere. I think it should go behind the goal. I think that's tradition, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, I've been banging on about this for ages.
And you also sit there?
I sit there with my daughter as well. And it's very noticeable against Brighton, which was a night game. I took my daughter because she had no school the next day. On Bank Holiday Monday, again, there's like swathes of empty seats. Of course, what you need to do is the people who aren't going is to inform the club that you're not going. That's the first thing. And secondly, especially on night games, because there's not that many kids there, I don't think it's going to do any harm at all to let in a few other people, either for a £5 or a £10. I mean, the main thing is getting it filled, especially when you've got both tiers of the away end filled, like it was in those 2 games. Then that helps an awful lot.
To bring my eldest is 21, so if he takes my little one's ticket, it costs him the full price of a student, which is, I think, that's a little bit petty. I think, if it was going to be free anyway, why not just charge him a £5 for it, and at least you've got a seat filled then.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously there are going to be some people who would take advantage of it, buy a couple of kids' tickets, never take them, and just take their mates along. But I think particularly you can see who's been there for years and years, and
Chris, you're ours end.
Yes, sorry, so that wasn't my ours end.
No.
I was just replying to someone else's. Well, I've got a couple as well, but a couple of quick ones. First of all, Silla seems to be, despite him scoring on Monday, seems to be the latest scapegoat from all the people around me. I know he's a bit like Bambi on ice some of the times, and but I do think he puts in effort. And if you look at his goals to game ratio, it's got 12 in 32, which is better than 1 in 3, which is by far and away the best anyone in the club. So I think it's a bit unfair to put the boot in. Second one was the Sheffield Wednesday fans. I mean, in the past, there's been issues with Wednesday fans, particularly up at Hillsborough on that day in 2004. And I've had a few people at White City back in the day. But anyway, I think on Monday, they clapped. Quite a few of them clapped on the 10 minutes for Stan Bowles, which I thought was great, and quite a few of them joined in clapping Jerry Francis on at half time, and it was great to see him. So well done them.
Jim.
And I just want to say, really, I'm happy to stick with Ollie. I think we need to have stability at the club, and we ain't going to go down. I'm convinced of it, and I think the club are doing the right thing. That's my thing, really.
Very good. Paul, we know you get upset if you don't go last on the R's end, so we saved this spot for you.
Well, now I was in the middle of a choker fit there. Sorry about that when you were talking. I was coughing. Just to address 2 quick points. On what you said about the family stand, I agree. It is what it is now, and whether we're upset about it or not, it's irrelevant. But maybe at night games, split it. The atmosphere. But we've got to look at the complex issue of atmosphere, which is if you have a bottom and top tier of away fans, all you can hear.
It is a complex issue because our fan base do not agree on this issue.
It is, and to be fair, when you got like Wednesday, Fulham, anyone that can fill the bottom and top of tier, you will get you do hear them more than you hear us. But then that's got to be an issue where we get the ground going. I mean, I sit in South Africa Road, and people there need to try and get things going. We need to get some. Do you know? I think it boils down to the fact we haven't got a decent song. We need to seriously spend the summer, Chris. I reckon you're sitting there with your bit of paper, son, during the summer. Write down some songs. That's what we need. We need something. We need a club anthem. We need something to get behind. We need to get the place rocking again because defeat fatigue is set in, and we're all sitting there looking at each other miserable. Elsie was pretty empty yesterday. That's worrying. That shouldn't be that empty for a game like that. Anyway,
something tells me you haven't done your R's end yet.
All right, yeah, you're right. And what you said about
Have you? You started your R's end
shut
yet?
up.
Are you serious?
I haven't, no. Right, but I'm going to do it in a second. Silla, I agree with you, but I think it's wearing gloves this time of year is a bit weird.
Yes.
I find that very weird. And also the fact that he seems to forget to jump at times. I think if he puts a wee bit more effort in, his goal record is brilliant. Weirdest thing yesterday was when he scored, everyone was like, nah, he hasn't really. Wonder what we're going to have for half time. And then only when the Sheffield Wednesday player kicked the ball from the back of that, it went, freaking hell, yes.
Yeah. Well, nobody realised it. And the person who did the goal music, nobody.
Even the Wednesday fans are a bit weird. Anyway, my R's end.
Congratulations. Yeah. And how many have you got?
I haven't achieved anything. I'm
How many have you got?
I'll have as many as I want.
Go on.
I've been here since the start. I'm one of the founding members. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
I can stay here all night. No one will listen. But, we'll get kicked out eventually. It's fine. We're in a nice area. We'll go to the pub. Right. My R's end. I haven't even thought of one. That's why I keep them talking so I can think of one.
You don't have to have one. You are allowed to say, I don't have an R's end. That'll do for me. And your prediction for Brentford away.
Anyway. So, I seen today on Twitter, I think it was Cindy Grohl that put it on there, that who's our most hated players who are both pretty awful on the pitch and pretty nasty. Now, I would have to say top 2 are Basingwa and Hitley. Maybe Bob Malcolm is third one. I don't know. So that's something to think about for the live pod, that we can actually do a poll amongst our listeners and invite the most hated player to the podcast.
Yeah.
Are we going to tell him that they're there? Because
No. Tell him it's a Lifetime Achievement Award. And then get them
Well,
there.
we have had Ned Zelic on this podcast once, and he was very good.
He was excellent, but I've got a funny... I want to get Mark Hitley so I can boo him just one more time and clip my ears to him. The other R's, my serious R's end of the show. Everybody, it's coming. Once I think of it, is a pretty simple one. I've been banging on about this for years and years and years and years and years. We need to promote ourselves in the area. I am sick and tired of saying this. You'd Fulham had posters in Wood Lane. Your Fulham got posters and bloody buses that go down up and down the roads and stuff like that there. We need to promote a football club. You go to White City, Shepherd's Bush, or any of them stations. If you two keep laughing, I'm going to throw the cider over you. And you don't know we exist. We need to promote ourselves within the community more, within the tube stations and everything else, and show the world we exist. Be proud of our identity. Be proud of who we are. My mum's in Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, and as much as it pains me to say, and I hate it, I had to go past all the scum flags the other week. You know they exist. We need to let the world know that we exist. And by the way, if you're listening, I'm coming back next week with petrol. Just saying.
What? That escalated.
The scum flags are going.
Oh, I see. When you, I thought you meant here.
Do you know there's no? Oh no!
I thought you meant you're coming here with petrol.
There's a terrible story about the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. I was going for dander when my mum was having an operation, and I didn't know where to go. So I dandered down the road, and as you do, you kind of like just you're talking to your mate on the phone. In fact, it was Stephen Cross. How you doing, Stephen? I know you don't listen to the podcast. That's really annoying. You should listen to it. Dandering down the road, as you do, and I somehow managed to get in the queue for the Chelsea Museum or some frigging thing that was round the corner from the hospital. I shat myself. And I abused everything. And I was looking at a cardboard cutout of John Terry in front of me. I nearly punched the shite out of it. And I was asked to leave. I don't know why. It might have been something I shouted about scumbags.
Can we start the theme tune? Whilst you're talking? Can I ask you, have you finished?
You might have had to be there, though, I think, to see that.
Have you finished?
Who would you say is our most famous? Who would you say is our most famous
your
fan?
prediction for Brentford away on Saturday. Just a scoreline. Doesn't have to be a monologue. Scoreline, not monologue.
If you keep interrupting me, you'll not see the game. I think we'll do them 2-1 because I think it's shit or bust, and we need to give the fans something to take away from this season. And a defeat over there in wee gobshites would be something perfect to take away from the last few weeks.
Jim?
I think it's going to be 1-0. Be a tight one, but I think it'll be 2 QPR.
I think we'll be very QPR about it, and we'll go into the Forest game still needing something. So I will go draw 2-2.
Well, I feel
Mark Bircham last minute. Do you want me to say something I don't think?
No.
That's what I think. Because
Right.
I think we would just drag out this not being quite mathematically safe.
well,
Chris?
I fear we're going to take a battering, unfortunately. I really hope it's
Didn't
not
we not
true.
going to beat Brentford?
So I'm going to go for the reverse psychology 2-0 Brentford.
And John, finish off the podcast, please.
Yeah, I would. If we play an experimental team, I think we will be in big trouble. But I'm hoping he's going to go for it and put a full strength team out. And I think if he does that, we'll win. I'm going to say very quickly a big shout out, though. Sorry to do this, a bit of a pull. Big shout out to Tammy Abraham, who's Bristol's top goal scorer. He's on loan from the other place.
Yeah.
But I taught him. He's one of my boys that I taught at the school. He's a lovely chap. And if we could get him on loan next season, 25 goals would
Can
be
you pull a
very
few
handy.
strings? Come on.
Well, it's very possible.
So what does he know you as, Mr.
Mr. Wood. He calls me Mr. Wood
Mr.
quite
Wood?
rightly, yeah.
Come on then, Mr. Wood.
Come on, Mr. Wood, see what you can do. He's still got a girl's name. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Please come to the live podcast on 9th of May at the Good Ship. This has been the QPR podcast.
QPR, QPR, Big Rangers.